So we have the normal nether. Right, because the lore. But this is actually really good because this means we have access to piglin trades. Hello everybody and welcome back to some more Create 2 Mechanism. As you can see behind me, I have been very busy in between episodes. First and foremost, I added another of the stone extruder things to make the granite setup, which is then just like with the diorite, getting washed over here, and it's making our copper. And it's also actually making us some redstone as well, so you know, that's good. Then I also actually set something else up here called compacting drawers with these puller upgrades. Very easy for me to get. That it's now pulling out the nuggets, compacting them into their other forms, and just making my life a whole lot easier. I don't know if I did this in the last video or not, but I also set up this stone setups with the grindstones and stuff. I might have done that in the last video, but that's fine. So, for our first orders of business, I've made a clipboard, which should help us to know exactly what we need to do. Our first step is to make ourselves some coke and nourished coke. Now, coke is not what you're thinking. It is simply smelted down coal and or charcoal. And while we're waiting for the rest of it, we're going to need to turn this thing into nourished coke. But we're also going to need something else that's very special called sandpaper. For us to get that, we're going to need paper. So I can go ahead and take this over here to my mechanical press, and that'll then get us paper. Then with this, we just need to go ahead and grab ourselves some simple sand, and I believe we can just combine these right in a crafting table, and there we go. Now we got ourselves our sandpaper. I'm gonna need to check these off so that way we can get the quest lines going, but there we go. There is a diamond sandpaper that will be able to last a lot longer than this normal one. But I need crushing wheels before I can make that, so that is obviously not on the table. After this, we just need to go ahead and collect ourselves a bucket or two of water, and then these guys should be completely done. There we go. Now, we move on to the final part. We just need to go over to our mixer, throw our water in. I guess we'll just be doing one for now, and then we can throw in our coke. And then this is going to take a little bit of our water, and we're going to start getting ourselves our nourished coke. Also, something else I'm noticing is if I want to actually get this to work, because to be able to make the polished one, I now need to use sandpaper like this. However, I am noticing that I'm going to need to make another sandpaper, because as of right now, I only have enough to make 8 of this. Either way though, now I got the rest of our coke right here, and I believe that for the recipe, it will need to be the first thing pressed, so we can go ahead and put that there, and that will then mark off our first 2 quests. That is good. So, the next thing that we are going to need is we're going to need to get ourselves some copper wire. Now, copper wire we will get from copper, which I also do actually already have fully automated. So we can go ahead and collect that. That part is easy. Next, we are going to need to get ourselves some copper sheets, which is also actually very easy. We can just go ahead and throw that into there, and there we go. Now we got ourselves that as a copper sheet. Now, remember, these check marks are meant to say that I've automated these things. I haven't. I do fully intend to automate what I can, but for the moment, a lot of these things I really can't. And we are on a time crunch, as it is episode 3, and I would like to be able to get to the nether. So, now we got those guys. But for us to get copper wire, we are going to need to make ourselves a rolling mill, which is going to use our good old kinetic mechanism right here. Actually, that was way too many. I only need 9 of these. And then with the normal recipe of these things and a shaft, this is how we will get ourselves a rolling mill, which is a kind of a weird thing. So I need to find a good place for this. It's only going to be temporary, so I guess I can go ahead and just slap it there for now. What I now do is I throw in an item, and then this is going to crush it into copper wire. So, yeah, there we go. Now we have that, but copper wire is very interesting when it comes to these things. It uses up a whole lot for me to be able to get this. But now that I've got all my copper wire, I can put that one in there, and then we can check this one off our list. That's good. Alrighty. The last thing that we are going to need before we can make ourselves the sealed mechanism is a screwdriver. Now, the screwdriver itself has 128 uses. That's good. That's 2 stacks. I could do better. And also, this takes blue dye, which I don't have lapis. Wait, I do have lapis? Wait, that means I've EMC'd it before. Wait, when did I get lapis? I guess I got lapis from somewhere. Ah, it was from sieving. Oh, okay. But yeah, we can do better than that. What we want is to get ourselves an industrial screwdriver. What one might think is a big problem, though, is a diamond gear, because that's going to take 4 diamonds. That's quite a lot. But one might not think is that I would have enough EMC to then be able to go ahead and make this guy no problem. Now that we do have that out of the way, the last component that we are going to need is going to be some orange dye, which may involve either orange flowers or me combining dyes. I don't know. I don't have flowers yet. Good thing I have a lot of grass for me to bone meal up, though.
5 minutes later.
Okay, but now I should have everything I need, so we can just go ahead and make ourselves our industrial screwdriver. There we go. Now we can place this up here, completing the required recipe, which only leaves one thing: to let this thing start going. Now, you might notice I already have the setup, but the mechanisms are not leaving. This is because I actually had this thing set to a lever. That way, I could then mitigate how much actually is allowed to go out at any given time. So yeah, this should be... Well, actually, it'll stop the moment that those guys go up there, because then it won't allow it to progress any further. So, actually, yeah, I can just go ahead and leave this thing going for now. So, that is good, though. So once we go ahead and run through these guys, I can actually go ahead and take this thing out. Now, we now have ourselves our sealed mechanisms. I'm hoping that that's all I'm gonna need. I mean, I have enough for like 2 of these copper machines, because the copper casing that we'll actually use this for, that's only gonna use a copper sheet. So it's actually very easy for things. Oh, but I am going to need 1 more for the actual products. But, I mean, one thing that's also going to be very useful with this copper machine, I'll be able to actually start making steam engines. So I'll actually be able to set up a steam boiler here soon, which should hopefully help me with the water wheel mess. Because it's a lot. It's cheap, but it's a lot to expand things. I've had problems. Also, that's another thing you might notice. I've shifted out the wood for stone over here, because I realize there's going to be a lot of flammable stuff I'm going to need to use soon. So now that we have this, we can go ahead and check off the sealed copper and the copper machine, which now leaves us up to our next mission: to make ourselves blaze rods. So that way we can go to the nether, because the nether portal is very funky in this one. So for us to make blaze rods, we're going to have to get very creative. We need to make ourselves a spout. That way we can go ahead and start spouting out lava. For us to make a spout, we just need to go with the normal kind of recipe that we had been doing for all of our simple machines before, but this time with our new components and a fluid hopper. This will make us a spout. Then by combining an andesite alloy with a andesite casing, we can go ahead and make ourselves a depot. And then, with this depot, which we can actually place anywhere, because this is one of the few create items that doesn't actually need rotational force. It will work simply by having input underneath it, which I think is actually kind of odd. I'm not gonna lie. It's weird that it wouldn't need anything, but it is fine. So now with that, we would then just go ahead and then throw lava. I may have missed something. And I think I know what it is, but I want to look it up to be sure.
20 minutes later.
Okay, I had to do a bit of finagling, but I was right about what was wrong. I needed these fluid pipes, which are very easy to get. I just needed some copper sheets and some copper, and then a mechanical pump, which takes a fluid pipe and a cogwheel. So I got that right here, and I've got this set up over to here. So I guess this thing did need rotational force after all, that's fine. But for me to do this, I actually had to kind of adjust something. So that way I actually had a place for this in its temporary state to be able to actually get the cogwheel rotational force into it. And it also kind of led me to just dealing with a small redundancy. Because, like, let's be honest here, having those guys be on separate ones and then just using all those shafts and those chain drives, like, that was really redundant. There's so many redundancies I'm going to need to sort out. But that's for my own time. So, now that I got this here, though, I believe I can actually use this on... Yeah, I can. And then it goes up to there. That's good. Okay. Now, I don't know if I can use this on my crucible or not, but I might be able to. We really just need to wait to be able to use this thing for one final step. Firstly, we're going to need another piece of sandpaper. Sandpaper required. Now, all we need to do is just make ourselves a block of coal and then sandpaper this down into a coal rod. Now what we do, we put this here. That will then get spouted, and I can take the lava out with this. Okay, so if that thing will go away. So, yeah, there we go. Wait, what? Hold it. That only took 500 millibuckets, but now that says that's one whole millibucket. There's some shenanigans going on in here. But now all we need to do is just throw this into here to get crushed, and we don't have a blaze rod. Oh, because I needed to repeat this process 4 times. I am so confused. But now once we crush this thing down, there we go. We got ourselves a blaze rod, which is EMC-able. So we should no longer need to make this with that whole janky process. That is good, which means we shouldn't need to automate that. So now what we can go ahead and do is we can just go ahead and make ourselves our blaze powder. So now we have everything we need to go ahead and set this up. Now I want this to be in its own kind of side off area. That way I can just sort of have this be in its own place. So let me go ahead and set that up.
Later.
Alrighty, and here it is. We've got ourselves our little pathway back. What? Wait a minute, hold on. This is on hold right now. That doesn't matter. What? How did that happen? How many of these are... Is there more? How did this happen? That is going to bother me every time I come back. I love it. But, yeah, now we've got ourselves everything ready. And we got ourselves the new portal frame all ready to go. Because we can't use obsidian this time. Oh, no. We need to use netherrack and blaze powder, which we now have. So we should be able to go ahead, light this up. And that apparently doesn't actually use up the blaze powder. Oh, I'm very scared for this, actually, because this could end up going, like, horribly, horribly wrong. Okay, so I'm gonna leave, like, everything that I don't need, which is everything. Should I, like, make a sword or something? Because, I don't know. I don't even have any armor. So, oh, my head. I can't forget to lose this thing, because otherwise this will be weird. Remember, the tradition is really only to just go into the nether. So, I guess let's go ahead and scout this baby out and see what happens. Oh, there we go. Okay. Oh, it's not sky blocked. So we have the normal nether. Right, because the lore. Oh, I forgot the lore. We're supposed to be like on an alien planet. Oh. This is sick. But this is actually really good because this means we have access to piglin trades. And those guys can get me like really good stuff. And a few of them may actually be EMCable. That is really good. So with that, we now have access to the nether. Ah, that is awesome. Okay, so we can go ahead and check travel to the nether off of our list. Now, this is actually very interesting. I was kind of expecting this to be a skyblock thing, so I added something to a second page that I really don't need. Well, in reference to this. And yes, it is to make a jetpack, because there are jetpacks in this. We have the Mekanism jetpack, which I don't have access to yet. But we also have the copper jetpack, which, with everything we've just gotten with these sealed mechanisms, I do actually have access to this thing now. I think I will postpone making the jetpack when it comes to this, but as soon as I am able to, I absolutely will, because being able to go around the base and just cleaning things up, that would be very nice. So the last thing on my checklist that I realistically need to do is to automate everything possible from this list. I will automate whatever is possible, even if that is nothing.
1 hour later.
Okay, so I think I've managed to get everything for the polished coke to be automated. When it comes to the copper wire and stuff like that, that stuff is pretty easy for me to get, and I just don't have the space or the time to kind of go more into that at this moment, because I do have other stuff I need to do today, mostly eating. So we should have everything we need for these things. So what I have here is a bit of a rudimentary setup, but it's a few things that are going to be necessary. Firstly, we need to get the assembly line started. So I've got logs here, which I got from a little tree setup over here, which distributes the stuff evenly across over here to ultimately get the logs. So that way we can go ahead and start sending those guys up here, which then we have these fans right down here, which it won't output to this one unless there's free space over here. So this one's a redundancy. I'll take care of that later, but that's fine. But then that'll start going in here, and then it will make ourselves our charcoal. Now, why I don't have this thing just going along on the line is because when I did test that, the coal would not smelt. But once I took it off and put it back on again, it would smelt. So now we just need to go ahead and send that one down. So that way this will then start smelting, and then that should then get us our coke. So now we just need to go ahead and send this thing over again, which will start mixing with water, which I got from our fluid pipes, which I just ripped from over there, which then will get sent out automatically and sanded, making our polished coke. Oh my goodness, it's beautiful. So then we can go ahead and lock that. That is good. So here is where this thing goes wrong. I don't actually have a sandpaper automation. Now, sandpaper isn't hard to automate if I really wanted to. Like, if I go into this, I just need paper and sand. Paper I can get just by crushing the sugar canes, which I can just get from here. So that's no issue. I could technically also use a paper sapling over... Oh, no. Yeah, that's another problem, is that the lava is causing fires. That's why I have these slabs here, is because there was fires over here, but it looks like I gotta deal with more of it. Other than sorting that thing out, there we go. We do have our whole thing here semi-automated enough. And pretty much the same goes with the wires, because I already got the press here and this thing here. All I'd really need to do is just set that thing up to a belt, and then I could have this swapped onto there however I pleased. It really would not take me very long to sort out. I'll probably already have all that sorted out by the time next episode, but you know what? We got all these, and I've been to the nether. Tradition has been fulfilled. So did you like this video? Good. Be sure to check out our last Create a Mechanism video where we set up our first automation. Bye-bye!